Bickley and Marte. Bickley and Marte mornings. Arizona sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Ketel Marte has been many things since arriving in Arizona in 2016. He's been a center fielder and a second baseman. He's been one of 4 Musketeers and one of 2 Martes in the starting lineup. Back when the Diamondbacks were supposed to be a Marte parte, he's been an all-star and a playoff hero and an MVP candidate. And now at age 30, he is flirting with genuine superstardom. His current numbers rank with Luis Gonzalez and Paul Goldschmidt for most impressive season ever. He's got 5 home runs and is hitting well over 400 since the All-Star break, and he might emerge as a legitimate MVP candidate in the months ahead. And when it's all said and done, he might go down as a top 5 position player in franchise history. Now, Marte has always flashed. He's always been flashy. He's always been good at everything, but in the past, he's always left you wanting more. In fact, 4 years ago, a Seattle newspaper said the Mariners clearly won the trade with the Diamondbacks. Yeah, well, not anymore, because in 2024, Marte is becoming something even bigger. He's becoming one of the best players in our collective sporting history. And with Corbin Carroll struggling to look like a Major League Baseball player these days, it's Ketel Marte who has become the real face of our baseball franchise.
And the 1-0. Swung on, hit in the air to center. Going back, Isbell. He's onto the track. He's at the wall, and it is gone! Ketel does it once again. A 3-run homer. And the Diamondbacks have blown it open with a 5-run 9th inning. It is now the Diamondbacks 8 and the Royals 4.
Yeah, that was part of the heroics last night from Ketel Marte. It turns out they needed that 3-run homer in the 9th to pull out that 8-6 win over the Royals. I didn't know about the blurb from the Seattle newspaper.
Quote, it looks like the Mariners have handily won the trade by acquiring Gene Segura and Mitch Haniger.
November 23rd, 2016. Diamondbacks get Ketel Marte and Taijuan Walker for Zach Curtis, Mitch Haniger, and Gene Segura.
Yep. And Gene Segura, and it was funny because Gene Segura in his limited time with the Diamondbacks, he was doing real well.
He's one of the few Diamondbacks ever with 200 hits in a season.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I remember when Mike Hazen made that trade, I thought, wow, that rarely do you see a team trade someone who's really performing well for you for the prospect of somebody who's even better. And this is going to go down as one of the better things, in my opinion, Mike Hazen has done, because Ketel Marte is really stacking together a career now. And the high leverage moments are starting to, again, stack up to the point where you have to reframe this guy in terms of who he is, what he means to us, not just this year, but in the scope of Arizona sports.
Yeah, I would say that is one of the trades, looking back 7-8 years later, it's worked out for both teams. Mm-hmm. Edge to the Diamondbacks.
Yep, I agree.
Segura only lasted 2 years in Seattle before they traded him to the Phillies. Haniger has been a really good Mariner, but I think
him a lot of power numbers.
Marte has been better for the Diamondbacks than Haniger's been in Seattle.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then you look at the success that the Diamondbacks have had relative to the success the Mariners never have. Rarely have. So listen, and with Corbin Carroll struggling the way Corbin Carroll is struggling, and he had a moment last night, he got on base, he tried to get them a run. I just feel grateful that Ketel Marte is doing this now on a much more consistent level. Because that's always been the thing with him in the past. He's had seasons and half seasons where you're like, wow, if that guy could ever put it all together.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked to Derek Hall, and Derek said, where would the Diamondbacks be without Ryan Nelson and Brandon Pfaadt? And certainly that is a valid statement on the pitching front. But where would they be without Ketel Marte and Christian Walker?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I was leading the parade of, this is Corbin Carroll. What you saw last year was nothing. He's going to up those numbers. I'm wondering if he can be a 30 or 35 home run guy with 50 stolen base potential, hitting for average, MVP candidate every year. And every night you watch Corbin Carroll play and you're like, something just doesn't seem right with him. And yes, he did make a couple of contributions. But there was an at-bat earlier in the game.
Yeah.
Ball's just a weak pop-up and a ball that's way low out of the strike zone. He's really, really pressing.
He's really scuffling. And look, and he's taking it into the field with him.
Yeah.
And it's something that you and I have noticed. I'm not real comfortable with him as a defensive player anymore. And so again,
he is still elite at getting to balls in the outfield that are short of him.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning he'll make a running catch, he'll make a sliding catch. I think he's still elite at that.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed all season long, especially in right field, balls getting over the head of Corbin Carroll. I don't know if it's proximity to the wall, what
spatial
it is,
awareness,
spatial awareness, but he's not been the same outfielder on that front.
Yeah.
And then last night, on an extra base hit by the Royals, made a lousy throw, which cost them too.
Yeah. So this has been a very unfortunate season for Corbin Carroll, because it's not just it's a lot of things. This is the guy that was painted to be. This is going to be our cornerstone for a decade to come, and now I don't know, what that exactly means. So, but fortunately, this team has found a way to prevail through all the obstacles that they've got in front of them. I thought last night was a gigantic win. Gabby Moreno, as we said earlier in the show, it bears repeating. That ninth inning rally seemed to come out of nowhere, and it seemed to be one of those moments that happens to teams that good things happen to them in the end. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking for teams that seem to be kissed by destiny a little bit, last night's game felt that way to me. 1 out, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., a weak nothing infield single. Okay, you got a man on first. 3-2 pitch to Geraldo Perdomo. Gurriel Jr.'s running with the pitch. The ball, he could have been rung up very easily. The throw down to second had him beat by a mile. That could have been the end of the game right there. Geraldo Perdomo got the benefit of the call based on a call he didn't receive earlier in the
strike two, which was out of the zone,
as you pointed out.
Yeah.
And Ketel had a very, and the way he handled that call helped him get that call on 3-2. Now you got runners on first and second, and then Gabby Moreno just laces the perfect gapper, and boom, you're like, wow. And then Ketel Marte just destroys a pitch, and and now that game's in the win column. And that last night, I'm like, that's a game that's worth more than one win in my book.
It could be. That game had 2020, and I think Bernsey put this out on social media too. It had 2023 vibes all over it, both good ways and bad ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, the failure for the Diamondbacks in situational hitting to push across runs in the meat of that game was very frustrating, and a lot of what we experienced, especially after the All-Star break last year.
Yep.
But that comeback and the clutch hit and taking advantage of a break. You don't get that many in those situations, and that was a strike. Yes, the strike two to Perdomo was actually a ball, so it evened out. But again, if Gabby Moreno doesn't deliver that hit, we're not talking about that at all today.
No, I agree with that. And then Paul Sewald got a little bulky, and I know Derek Hall had to kind of cover for his closer. I'm a little worried about him because it seems to be feast or famine again with him.
Certainly seems that way.
And you can't have that going into a postseason or a stretch run. So hopefully this is just maybe dead arm. Maybe it's just one of those valleys that you hit.
Yep. 53-50 is the D-backs record as they have today off. Pirates in town for 3 starting tomorrow.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marte. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.